Hey Boulder Valley family, want to invite you guys to take a few minutes to watch this Good Friday experience. The reason I'm doing this is for two reasons. One, I was going to put this in my Sunday morning sermon, and my Sunday morning sermon was getting really long. So I thought maybe I'll try to break it up a little bit. And so over the past several years, Brad and Kirsten Eason, they have done an incredible job on Good Friday. We've had Stations of the Cross experience up here at the church, where you would get to come and you would get to hold nails and you would get to smell the vinegar and you get to hold the crown of thorns, and it's been just a great, wonderful experience to become a tradition for our family to get together on Good Friday. And obviously we're not going to be able to do that this Friday, so I wanted to offer this to you maybe instead. This is, I hope, going to be kind of a Good Friday experience for you that will also kind of tie in somewhat to my sermon on Sunday. So this is kind of like part one of my sermon, if you will, for my Easter Sunday sermon. But man, I just want to encourage you guys to take a look at this and watch this, and maybe sometime Friday night, or just take some time alone even, or with your family, to go through this and to have this, what we're calling the sounds of the cross. And I want for you guys just to walk through what Good Friday, what Friday and Saturday, what it was like for the disciples so many years ago. And so with that in mind, also at the end of this video, it'll probably be about 15, 20 minutes long at the most. At the end of this video, I'm going to be mentioning some prayer requests of things that are going on in the lives of some of our family members. And I want to encourage you to listen to those prayer requests, read those prayer requests in the email that I'm sending out with this, and please reach out to those people, and let's be loving and encouraging and helping our family members as they're going through different hard times. And so it sounds funny, but I'm going to start this time off with showing a video clip from the movie Apollo 13. Now, some of you that have really good memories may remember that 4 years ago, when I did my first Easter sermon here ever, I showed this same clip, but my sermon went long, go figure, on Easter Sunday, and I never was really able to connect the dots on why I was wanting to use that video clip. And so take a watch at this video clip, watch this video clip, and then please join us for the next 15 minutes or so experiencing our Good Friday service.
Expect entry interface in 45 seconds. And on my mark, your velocity will be 35,245 feet per second. Marked. 35 seconds to entry interface.
Gentlemen, it's been a privilege flying with you.
We have loss of radio contact.
Roger that.
Expect to regain signal in 3 minutes.
Independent HU.
Recovery and rescue helicopters already airborne, circling, waiting for first
Coming
radar
in now
contact.
3 minutes until time of drogue deployment. Standing by for any reports of acquisition.
One minute and 30 seconds to end of blackout.
No re-entering ship has ever taken longer than 3 minutes to emerge from blackout. This is the critical moment. Will the heat shield hold? Will the command module survive the intense heat of re-entry?
If
If it doesn't, there'll only be silence.
Mommy, you're squishing me.
I'm sorry, sweetie.
Okay, flight, that's 3 minutes. We are standing by for acquisition.
Odyssey, Houston, do you read me? Odyssey, this is Houston. Do you read?
Expected time of reacquisition, the time when the astronauts were expected to come out of blackout, has come and gone. But all any of us can do now is just listen and hope. We're about to learn whether or not that heat shield, which was damaged, as you remember, by the explosion 3 days ago, has withstood the inferno of reentry.
Odyssey, this is Houston. Do you read me? Odyssey, Houston, do you read me?
3 minutes, 30 seconds, standing by.
Odyssey, Houston, do you read me? Odyssey, this is Houston. Do you read me?
That's 4 minutes, standing by.
So, man, that clip is a heavy clip, isn't it? It's a heavy scene. And I wanted to show that to you because I want what's happening in this video clip to apply to our lives right now. So, true story, Apollo 13, and we did not know if they were going to make it back to the Earth safe or not. And what they had told everybody is that typically as soon as they start coming into the atmosphere, they're going to lose radio contact with them for 3 minutes. And after that 3 minutes, within the next minute or so, they should be able to get radio contact with them. And so 3 minutes passed, and 3 minutes and 30 seconds passed, and 4 minutes passed. And you can see the family members. You can just see on their faces the heaviness of it. You can see the reporters and the newscasters. You can see the people at NASA. You can see people across the world, just how they're going. We've been told that after 3 minutes, we'll hear from them. And if we don't hear from them after 3 minutes, we know what that probably means. And so 4 minutes passed. 5 minutes passed. 5.5 minutes passed. And can you imagine just how long that time period felt to everybody as they were waiting? And can you imagine what's going on in their minds? The logic and the reason of what's going on, of them saying, well, if it's been more than 3 minutes and we haven't heard from him yet, we know what that means. So Boulder Valley, I want to ask you a question this morning. When's the last time you didn't feel or you questioned that God was on his throne? When's the last time that maybe you felt like he wasn't with you or he wasn't for you? Those are scary times when that happens, aren't they? And so this idea of how long are we going to be in this kind of stage of our life? This will be our fourth Sunday to be quarantined or to be social distancing from each other where we can't meet together. And it may start feeling like it's so long. And God, how long is this going to be going on in our lives? Man, I'm back and forth on what I hear in the news. There's just yesterday I heard that somebody was saying, man, we think this is plateauing out and it's not going to be as bad as we thought. And here in the United States, we were thinking around 240,000 deaths, and maybe it's not going to be that many. And so my hopes get lifted up. And then I just heard on the radio a few minutes ago where they were saying this could go into June. And it could be up to maybe a year before our lives return back to normal. And when you hear that bad news, you may think, how long is this going to go on? And depending on your work situation, Depending on your situation, you may be saying, how am I going to get through this? How am I going to survive this, God? What is going on? And because of that, this may be a time that it's easy to be filled with concern and fear. And so that's why we have been focusing on the past couple of weeks this idea, a sermon series that we're calling Love, Not Fear. And it's based off of 2 Timothy 1:7 that says, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but a spirit of power, love, and a sound mind." So it makes sense that we've been wrestling with fear during these days. And so that's why we're coming to God and trying to have Him encourage us. But I want us to slow down for a minute. And I know this may sound crazy, but I think the fact that it's Good Friday, it's a good idea for us to slow down. We live in a world that too many TV shows, too many books, too many podcasts, too many things, too many stories end with a happy little bow on it where everything turns out great. And we as Christians, it's so, as Americans, it's so tempting for us just to jump to the good news, to always focus on forgiveness, that God's forgiven us, to always focus on resurrection. And those are good things, but time out. We need to slow down and realize just how dark and just how scary and just how hopeless the story felt to the disciples, and maybe just how hopeless it may feel to you someday. Because we need to look at both how Good Friday applies to their lives, what it felt like, and what it applies to our life. And so, can you imagine what the followers of Christ had to be going through on Good Friday? Can you imagine starting in the garden, what the feelings they had, the fear they had, how it seems like so quickly things started to fall apart on them. They'd seen Jesus do all these great things. They thought Jesus was going to be the ruler, who was going to be king, who was going to come in and get rid of all the Romans. He was going to use violence like King David did. He was going to get rid of all their problems, all their hurt, and all their suffering. But on Good Friday, it seems like none of that's going to happen, and it all starts to fall apart so quickly. And so I want, instead of us getting to have the stations of the cross this Friday, I want to try to walk you maybe through the experience of the sounds of the cross, the sounds of Good Friday, of what it would have been like. And as you watch and you listen to this video, man, do what you can to put yourself into the place of Jesus' followers. Use your 5 senses. Put yourself in the garden. Think about you're tired. Think about how it's dark. Is it cold? You hear noises. Are you fearful? Are you angry? What's going on as they take Jesus away? What emotions, what senses, what feelings are going on inside you? Because we need to slow down and realize that even when we follow Jesus, it can lead to some very scary times that feel like they stretch on and on and on. So let's watch this and do our best to enter in to the sounds and the images of the cross.
Then Jesus went with his disciples to a place called Gethsemane, and he said to them, "Sit here while I go over there and pray." He took Peter and the 2 sons of Zebedee along with him, and he began to be sorrowful and troubled. Then he said to them, "My soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death. Stay here and keep watch with me." He then had a close friend betray him.
Lahu Damesh Hana Hayau Le Ahodo.
Peter stood by close and watched as he was taken to a fixed trial.
Inanatu Mashiach Bara de Haleha Anea Good far!
John and Mary stood by and listened to the very crowd who just a few days earlier cried out that Jesus was the King of Israel during the triumphal entry. Now cry out, "Crucify him."
They watched as Jesus was beaten. Isaiah 52:14 says that he was so beaten that his appearance was so marred that he was beyond human resemblance.
You see, his followers had hoped he would wear a crown of gold.
His followers had believed that he would be the one who would free them from the chains of oppression.
In the past, they had seen him use his hands to heal the sick and even to raise the dead.
The believers had hoped that God would lift him up to be the King of the world.
Eli! Eli! Lama sabachthani!
They didn't think it was going to end this way.
Mashlam.
Then something terrifying happened. It felt as if Psalms 46:2 was actually about to happen. It felt as if the earth was about to give way and that the mountains were about to fall into the heart of the chaotic sea. This isn't how the story was supposed to end. This is the most tragic thing that has ever happened in the history of our world. I mean, think about how the disciples and the followers had to feel. I mean, they really truly believed that God sent his one and only Son, that he came down here, he came to us in love, he came to us in kindness, he came to us with good news, he came preaching love and forgiveness and nonviolence. And what do? He came to serve, not to be served. And what do? We take his life. And how do the disciples, how do the followers of Christ feel out of a result of that? The fact that he came and that he died on the cross, how are they feeling? They feel fear. John 20 says this: on the evening of the first day of the week, when the disciples were together with the doors locked for fear of the Jewish leaders, they all got together, they huddled up, and they were fearful, and they hid in a room, and they locked the door. And there were some other followers of Christ who, man, they were so scared, they were like, we've got to get out of town. We got to get out of here. In Luke 24, they were headed to Emmaus, and it says this, Luke 24:21. As they were walking, they met a man, and they'd said to the man, we had hoped that this Jesus, that he was going to be the one to redeem Israel, but the Pharisees and the Romans, they've taken him and they've killed him, but we hoped he was the one who was going to rescue us. Can you understand? They have lost hope, and for good reason. But anyway, well, okay, why have they lost hope? I mean, they saw Jesus do incredible miracles, right? They saw Jesus heal people. They saw people make the lame walk and give sight to the blind. They saw Jesus several times bring the dead back to life. They were there when Jesus said to Lazarus, Lazarus, come forth. I mean, why can't Jesus raise himself from the dead? Well, because he's dead. And a dead man can't say, Jesus, come forth, because he's dead. And their reason and their logic, sadly, it makes sense, doesn't it? So, have you been feeling this way? Have you been feeling hopeless? Have you had a time in your life where you've just kind of said, this whole following Christ thing, I thought that I followed Christ, life would work out like this, and these good things would happen, and he would fix this and this and this. And you know what? Life isn't working out as smooth as I want it to work out. And have you ever said to yourself, oh, we had hoped that he was the one who was going to redeem our lives? I know I felt that way. And I know other members of our congregation, they've felt that way. And there's some of our members right now that they're feeling that way today. And man, let's be honest, man. We've had some pretty rough things happening the past couple of weeks, as if the COVID stuff wasn't enough. You guys have probably heard, if you've been keeping up with our prayer requests we've been emailing out, that Irene fell and broke her arm this week. That Curtis Estrada, Gregory's oldest brother, that grew up in this church, they thought that he had COVID, and that actually he was fighting for his life, and it turns out he didn't have COVID. Instead, what happened is they had given him medication that they weren't supposed to, and it almost took his brother's life. Merlinda's grandfather has passed away this last week. Not from COVID, but from 8 years of wrestling with dementia, and they are mourning the loss of their grandfather. Jasmine has shared with me that her grandmother, Patty Machado's mother, that Patty's mother, that Jasmine's grandmother has passed away. She fell and broke her hip during this whole COVID thing, and that after the surgery, they thought she was gonna be better, and she looked like she was doing better, and then she ended up getting pneumonia, and she's passed away. Julie Bach, the lady that runs our Promise Christian Preschool, she's wrestling with so much stuff, her and her family right now, what to do with Promise Christian Preschool. They have friends and family members of their, that they know that have breast cancer, colon cancer that's returned. Julie's sister-in-law is a single mother that's raising 4 kids by herself, and because of COVID stuff, just ended up losing her job. The Blairs have had a family member who was just a 21-year-old young man by the name of Cody, that he has passed away because of COVID. And Nanette Sheets, Nanette had a cousin who she was only 46 years old that was found home, dead alone. They think it could have been from COVID. And then the very next day, Nanette's 81-year-old aunt passed away. Man, we've got people who, they don't have finances coming in right now. They're worried about the future. They're concerned, and I understand that. And let's be honest, maybe for the first time in a long time in our lives, this feels like a very dark, heavy Good Friday, doesn't it? And maybe you're asking the question, how long, God, will this go on? And here's what I want to encourage you. Is I don't want for you to rush past. This Good Friday, I want for you to take your fears, I want you to take your concerns, I want you to take the things that maybe you feel hopeless, and I want to encourage you, take those things to Jesus. Don't drink them away. Don't Netflix them away. Don't ignore them. Don't try to pacify yourself and hide from those feelings. I want to encourage you, take those feelings, sit in those feelings, just like the disciples did, just like the followers of Christ did. From Friday to Sunday, take those concerns, bring them to God, and see what He wants to say to you about your concerns and your hardships. Because I know it feels like Friday. But I promise you, dear family, Sunday's coming.
There ain't no